Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back in the camper again tonight, and I've got a new, segment, if you want to call it that. I'll probably just kind of name them fish stories, something or other along those lines, and I'm just going to tell some stories about fishing, some stories about different things surrounding fishing, stuff that maybe everybody can learn from that I can talk about. And some of them have a little drama mixed into them. They're all going to be probably pretty interesting, but we'll start off with a story about a co-angler that I met. And this is, I guess before I get into this isn't any negative thing towards co-anglers. This is just a story that I thought would be interesting and something that I could talk about. And to lead up to it, there are some people definitely out there that are against the whole co-angler thing because of guys like this guy I'm going to tell the story about. And again, I'm all for co-anglers. It's a really great learning experience for people. I'm definitely okay. I'll leave it at that. I'm not against co-anglers or anything. We'll get into the rest of it after I tell the story. So anyway, obviously I travel around and meet new people and everything. I'm talking to this guy just in a campground, and we're talking about fishing, which we're right by a trout stream, and he brings up that because I was talking about bass fishing, that he used to fish bass tournaments, and this is an older guy, had fished as a co-angler before, he told me, and was talking about a 2-day tournament that he fished as a co-angler, which I believe he was referring, if I remember correctly, it was a BFL, some 2-day tournament of a BFL of some sort. But apparently, from what he told me, he had done pretty poorly on the first day. He had a buddy in the tournament that had done really well the first day, and then he drew another guy that was in the top 10. So he said that he went out on day 2 knowing that he hadn't done well on day 1, and knowing that the guy that he was in the boat with, the boater, had done well, but the co-angler, not to mix everything up, the co-angler had another buddy, not that boater, but a different guy that was doing well in the tournament somewhere else. So he told me he purposely tried to sabotage that guy's day. He said he constantly was crowding the front of the boat, trying to kind of agitate him a little bit, and he was laughing about this. The guy did not know that I fished tournaments, and I kind of kept quiet because I didn't want him to stop on the story. I kind of wanted to hear the juice of this whole thing, because what he was saying, and he didn't, I don't know if he thought that he was bragging about it or what, but I mean, he literally just told me that he went out there with the intention of doing his best to knock that guy out to give his buddy a better chance in the tournament. So, saying that everything he said was true, which I don't have really reason to believe it wasn't, because there are people out there that do those crazy things like that. But what I'm getting to is that there are obviously people out there that can make your day worse, and those are just kind of the uncontrollable factors of why you hear these stories of guys that aren't big fans of co-anglers. I personally have had way more good experiences with co-anglers than I've had bad, but I will say I have had some bad experiences with co-anglers. Do I know that for sure maybe one of those guys that crowded the front of the boat, and I mean I've had spinner baits thrown over my shoulder and stuff like that, that coming right at a target that I'm coming to, and always keep it polite, tell them that to kind of not cast at the targets that I'm coming up to. But again, it's in the back of your head after you hear something like that. Is this guy trying to just sabotage my tournament now? Does he have a buddy in the tournament? You just never know what's going on. But I've always thought of kind of an opposite solution, something that I was getting to earlier in the video, that maybe isn't a solution to that a guy might sabotage you just because he has another buddy in the tournament, which is just absolutely ludicrous, because I feel like that guy must have had a lack of understanding of what kind of work, time, money that goes into fishing as a boater in some of those tournaments. But the co-angler side, from my understanding, was originally made to be a learning experience for people. And it is. It's a very good learning experience. You're getting to go out with a guy that's practiced on the water and see techniques that he uses, the way that he fishes in a tournament, and you're doing it while getting to compete for something. And truthfully, you can end up having a pretty good day out on a body of water that might cost you quite a bit to get a guided trip out there. And I mean, most of these guys that are fishing these tournaments, not to say that there's bad ones, but most of these guys really know what they're doing. So I have always leaned towards that. I think that money has gotten too much into the co-angler side, and that it's maybe entry fees. I guess to make it shorter than that, entry fees to me on the co-angler side have always been too high. I think that they should be even lower than they are, because the co-anglers also double as a kind of a referee. You have marshals that are paying to be in the boat, because a big deal with that is that you're sending a bunch of guys out there with somebody that they don't know, so that there's somebody to kind of keep everybody in check, and then they can learn something at the same time, and then they can compete in a tournament together. But I don't necessarily think that on the co-angler side that they need to be competing for some huge pot or anything like that. I think that it does need to remain more of a learning experience, so that you have less of those guys out there that are so gung-ho that they go out there trying to win a tournament from the back of the boat, and they don't care if they make the guy in the front of the boat lose the tournament in the process. Because I know from fishing a lot of tournaments on the boater side that when you have a guy that is absolutely crowding the front of the boat and trying to hit targets that you're coming up to, that those are the experiences where I will start angling the boat, so that I don't give him a chance. Because I mean, I'm obviously polite beforehand and will say, please don't, when you see me coming up to a target, fling a spinnerbait over my shoulder to hit it first. But there's always going to be casts that you have that are left over, or hit it a second time. There's plenty of times that you'll catch it at the second cast. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you take that enticing paycheck out of it, maybe you can get more of a good learning experience from the back of the boat without having that driving factor of that you've got to win some money in the back of your head. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on that subject that I kind of led into, but that's the story that I had to tell everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel.